What's up, Bucketheads? It's Joe with at CBB DFS, and we have our first three-man Saturday morning shoot-around video pod. Is that what we call this?
Yeah, this technology is too much for us.
Bird's going to adapt this for the regular pod listeners, but we're crunched on time. We got 10 games to get through, so let's go through this. This is a 10K big jam. We got 2K going to first, which really sucks because this is a nice tournament and such a small payout. It's a little bit upsetting. Taking a look at the games, though, right off the bat, we want to break it down. We have 10 games. 8 of the teams are in the top 25. We have our usual buckets all set up, the don't go overboard section, the tread water section, and the dive in section. We're going to do things a little bit different than we normally do on our podcast. We're going to start from the highest scoring games and work our way down to the lowest scoring games, just because if we do run long, we want to make sure you guys get that information. Or for those of you who start listening later on in the morning, you can still get as much information as you need, as much vital information as you need before this starts. Does that sound good, guys?
Yeah, let's go.
Sounds good.
Let's roll then. Starting off, we got St. John's and Creighton. This is our highest over-under on the slate. It's got a total of 160. KenPom has Creighton at about a 14-point favorites. St. John's is 1-4 so far in league play, which is not so good. Creighton won this matchup back on December 17th pretty convincingly. So they have some recent history that we can call on. The key metric that jumped out to me when I was looking at this is that they're 9th and the 41st in possession length. So these two teams are going to get up a lot of shots, and there's going to be a lot of offense in this game, as you would expect, with an over-under close to 160. The questions I have down are, what are you hoping to see out of St. John's? How your team going to, and then for Creighton, how is the team going to handle so many options? Any other questions do you guys stand out when thinking about these two teams?
No, play everybody and then just stop listening.
Yeah, if you could, so if you only have 20 minutes till tip, this is the one you want to listen to, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's look at St. John's first. We'll always take a look at the visitors first. Julian Champagny jumps out at 9,200. Obviously, a 30% shot share is going to do that to someone. He's one of the highest priced guys on the slate, but there is no $10,000 guy out there this day. It's very workable. But then the rest of these St. John's guys have a little bit of price relief. Most of them coming in under that median of 6,250. Only Greg Williams at 6,300 is right there. Anyone from St. John's stand out for you?
Not overly for me. I mean, Champagny's awesome. Obviously, he's going to be a great player. Williams has had some kind of like boom or bust type of games, and his price is okay. But really, the Creighton side is just such a favorable pricing, and then Creighton's defense has also been awesome lately. I think they're only averaging, like, they're giving up 65 points a game their last 5 games or something like that. So their defense has really stepped up. So for me, I like the Creighton side better.
Yeah, no, I do too by 100%. I will say Rasheem Dunn's been playing pretty well of late, and you got to get a look at Posh Alexander, who had some really nice games early in the year. At that price, I think he's in play with the pace of this one.
Yeah, his minutes have gone down over the last few games, so something to keep an eye on.
Posh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that part of that's due to how well Dunn's playing.
Right.
Let's flip over to Creighton, though. Jefferson, the price king on Creighton right now at 7,700. He's been awesome lately, but you see his usage and shot rates aren't over 20%. And for me, there's so many better options on this team. In fact, everyone underneath him, all the way down to Kalkbrenner, is totally in play for me. And you know, Kalkbrenner's my guy, Bird. Who else you like for Creighton?
Yeah, I figured this was just going to be a Kalkbrenner conversation for like the next 40 minutes, and then they called me over.
If he gets 20 minutes, he's gonna smash that price.
He is, and he's been awesome. Zagorowski at 7,000 is just a cash lock, in my opinion, in the pace up highest over under total. I like Mahoney's usage in a shot share. He's a guy who's not afraid to, take 10, 12 shots a game.
Nope.
So I really like the Creighton side. I think, like you said, Jefferson may be a little overpriced, but otherwise I really feel great about a lot of these options.
Well, and you look at Mitch Ballack, and you're looking at 33 minutes a game. He's leading the team in minutes. He's on the floor the most, and the guy had 40 already this year. When he gets hot from 3, he's nasty. James, you like those shooters, don't you?
Yeah, I sure do. And I think, the key to this game for me is how bad St. John's is on defense and how fast they play.
Yeah.
They're number 10 in adjusted tempo, and they're 306 in defensive field goal percentage.
Which is crazy. That's not a good combination for winning basketball.
That's not what you want. And so you get a high-scoring team like Creighton, lights out. There's going to be a good stack here for sure.
Yeah. Hey, another one that could be fun to stack is Alabama Auburn. This one is a little bit tighter line. It's 150. I actually have Creighton still in there. I got to do some editing on myself, but this is actually Bama -4. And right now I love that Bama line. This is a winless team in the SEC versus an undefeated team. The series is tied at 3-3 in their last 6. This is an awesome football rivalry. From a basketball, is this, if that's the Iron Bowl, is this the Iron Buckets? I don't know. Maybe we can come up with a name for it.
Nice.
Alabama's had an amazing week with Tennessee and Florida getting wins over both those teams since last Saturday. And then with Auburn, the thing we're really most concerned about is Justin Powell's status. He didn't play last time out. And where's he at? When I look at Alabama, I did confirm that Quinterly is probably going to be out on Saturday. Nate Oates has been tight-lipped about his absence, but he has said that it's not a season-threatening injury or anything like that. So who knows what it's related to, but don't expect Quinterly at 6,600 to be in lineups tomorrow. That just gives a bump to Jones, Petty, and Shackelford, in my opinion. Keon Ellis will get a couple minutes as well. I know they've been working him in pretty steadily. What about the guards, Bird? Anybody else stand out there?
I think they're just at this point, those GPP options, Petty and Shackelford, are kind of scoring dependent at this point. If they're making shots, they're going to be awesome. If they're not, it's not going to go as well. And Herbie Jones, he's probably going to play some point forward. That usage should increase in a game like this. It's already really high. You see the screen 25.2%. And so I think he's an intriguing option as well. I think Bruner's way overpriced, but
yeah.
Otherwise, I think you got some good tournament options in this game.
No, I would agree with there. And actually, my guy, James Rojas, everybody's my guy today. So we're going to just get that out of the way now. But James Rojas had a nice one last time out, too. He was dealing with a little bit of a wrist issue as I identify it on the visual where the wrist is at. But he looks to be in better shape here. James
and Rojas was your guy, going to be your guy last year, and then he got hurt, right? I mean, he's a good player.
Well, Nate, he followed him from Buffalo to Alabama. He followed Oates, and Oates called him the ideal for his system. So I knew I was just dying to see this guy play. You think back to Perkins and what he was doing on those old Buffalo teams. That's just, it was a match made in heaven, and it looks like he's starting to mold into that a little bit. $4,000, I might give him a shot in this game. Nothing scary about Auburn. Flipping to Auburn, though, James, this team's been kind of a mess this year. They're not even playing defense like they have in the past under Bruce Pearl. Does anything on Auburn jump at you, or is this kind of a pick your poison thing?
I think it's kind of a pick your poison thing. I would probably try to find shooters for Auburn. They obviously are in love with the three right now. I think they're shooting over half their field goal attempts or 3-point attempts,
yep.
right? So it's a typical Bruce Pearl team.
Yep.
Alabama's not particularly good at defending the three. So I think you can find some guys that, may have been shooting pretty well lately and try to, key on them. Somebody like Devin Cambridge, who had some really nice games last year, hasn't really flashed this year a whole lot. But he's still playing a lot of minutes, played 32 minutes last game against Mississippi.
Yeah.
Went 2 for 10, 0 for 5 from 3. So obviously he's cold right now. But priced at 4,500, he's a guy that's has a proven ceiling. Maybe you throw him in.
Especially if Powell remains out, I think that's safe. And I don't want to spend too much time on Auburn as the SEC guy. They've just been kind of maddening and almost not as fun to watch as they have been in the last couple of years. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Williams took 10 threes last game. So like James mentioned, I think that's a potential. And I wish Jamal Johnson wasn't priced so high. I mean, if he was down at 5,200, I'd feel better about him. But yeah, that Powell's a big part of that. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with him. But there's probably some flyers. But yeah, I think you feel better about the Alabama side.
Yeah, and like usual, we'll keep an eye on the injury news and see what we can do before we all tip off at 11 tomorrow. All right. Now we're staying with my conferences, but I can't help it, guys. My teams play faster. And this one's kind of a mess. This is Seton Hall and DePaul. Right now I'm going to smash the Seton Hall -3. It's in Chicago. I was actually at this game last year in Chicago. It was a lot of fun. The total here is 149. This is DePaul's only their 4th game of the year. And the Pirates have had the edge in this series. And that's not a surprise with Miles Powell, 4-year run there, et cetera. Both of these defenses are outside of Ken Palm's top 70, so buckets should come fast and freely. With Seton Hall, it's always going to be is it going to be a Mamu day or a Jared Roden day? Lately, it's been Mamu, so Roden's one of those guys who likes to pop up and smash a slate once every 4 games. I got a sense it could be a Roden day. And then we are still getting to know the Blue Demons, so I don't want to go too crazy on DePaul. Looking at Seton Hall, Mamu's at 9,100, which is about where he should be at, especially if he's playing well. But this game is going to be fast and sloppy. And to me, like I said, I just got a feeling about Roden. I think it could be one of his smash spots. I'll probably fade Mamu at 91 and have some exposure to Roden. After that, Seton Hall gets a little tougher to deal with. Miles Cale, Bird, he's our guy, not just my guy.
Yes.
We love Miles Cale, but we loved him at 4,500. 5,900 is too much.
Yeah, a lot of things here, really. So Mama Kelishvili, they finally priced him up. I mean, he was 8,100 forever, and so they finally gave him the price jump. And so I think, like you said, Roden is going to look really popular with the price difference there. Bryce Aiken is out. He hurt his ankle, which is sad. I think Takel Molson actually started last game. He doesn't really do a whole lot, but a guy I kind of like maybe more as just a basketball player, and I'm not sure as a DFS target just yet, but Tyrese Samuel comes in and plays really good minutes. Super athletic, actually hits some threes. Like, I kind of like him. I wish he would play a couple more minutes. I think he'd be really viable at 3,700.
Yeah, he's on that Seton Hall plan, and by the time he's a senior, he's going to be a heck of a player for that team. But they're grooming him along slowly, but you see the skills when he plays. Shavar Reynolds is probably priced appropriately now. For a while, he was way overpriced, and Big Ike is just that. He's a big guy. He's not Romero Gill from last year, so you can probably stay off him. So really, Roden is who you're looking at here. Samuel and Molson could be flyers. We like the tempo here. I don't think you can go wrong, but maybe think cash with some of those other guys instead of GPP. Looking at DePaul, Bird, we don't know much about these guys. James, do you got anything on them? I know Jalen Butts hasn't played yet this year. I apologize. I haven't looked into his status for tomorrow.
Think he's due to play.
No. But this is still a Charlie Moore team. And since he's got Kansas ties, I'll throw it back to you on Charlie Moore, Bird.
Well, yeah, Charlie Moore, ball hog. I mean, that's his gimmick. That's who he is. That's who he was at Cal before he went to Kansas. Actually, they didn't let him be a ball hog at Kansas, so that's probably why he left. But he's a little shot dependent. He's going to play all the minutes. I mean, he's going to play every single minute of the game, which I think is good. Javon Freeman Liberty does a little bit of everything. He's like one of those guys who can fill up everything, but I think his price is just a little too high.
Yeah.
Who stands out to me is Romeo Weems at 6,400. Played awesome his first game back from probably a COVID tracing type of thing.
Sure.
Struggled his second game, but with that price drop, we know Romeo Weems, very talented player, really has a lot of skill. At 6,400, it's a guy who I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on.
I agree with that. And then Hall was their leading scorer one day down there at 4,700. And Nick Onega is super athletic and he's raw as can be. So he's had some good games. He's flashed. He's rebounded pretty well for them. I think Nick Onega is someone who can be considered as well.
Yeah, he's got some block upside too. I mean, I think he had a 6-block game earlier in the year where he just blocked everybody's face off. So
we got someone else I have a block party reference coming up later.
Oh,
let's keep moving though. Let's get to it. Hey, we're out of my conferences.
Oh,
Bert,
boy.
This is you. Right now, Baylor's a 12-point favorite. The total here is 144. It's one of 3 totals that are 144, according to Ken Palm. TCU's coming off just a beat down by Kansas. Kansas was pretty pissed off after a beat down by Texas. See, it all comes around.
It all does.
Let's see here.
Baylor's really good. We could do that. That should be one of the.
That should be one of the things. Yeah, Jared Butler has been kind of down the last 2 games, so I got a question mark on him, and then I got another question mark on TCU. Who the heck is Mike Miles? And we can do those in order. Let's start with Baylor.
Yeah, Butler got priced up for some reason, which he should. I mean, he was Big 12. He's going to be Big 12, player of the year. So I guess he probably should be 8,500. I don't like his price quite as much at this point. I think he's more of a kind of a 4X type of guy. He's going to be really solid, but probably doesn't have a ton of ceiling just because they're so balanced. Mitchell's going to get some shots. Teague is a very good shooter. Mayer's coming in and is just a microwave off the bench. Flagler is going to come in and shoot a bunch. So there's that balanced scoring really hurts Butler's upside a little bit, in my opinion. I still think Teague is a nice option as a scoring guard. I wish they'd play Vital more, but they're just not. JTT at 4,900 is probably going to be around 4x. I think that's probably a fair expectation.
Has he kind of taken over that post role?
Yeah, I think he's playing the most minutes, and Vital's only playing 20 minutes a game right now, which is just crazy. So when JTT is playing more than Vital, that I think that says a lot. But he's so athletic that I think that's why they like him on the court.
Yeah. Hey, let's flip over to TCU.
Yeah, so the TCU is weird. Like you talked about, they got just curb stomped by Kansas. Kevin Samuel didn't have a rebound in that game. And then Miles, who had scored basically 20 plus DK points every single game, didn't have a stat until a couple minutes left in the game. So the good news is you get a price discount. I think the bad news is Baylor is really, really good on defense. So you could go back to the well of Miles and hope he gets you 4x. I'm probably not going to play anyone here. I don't really want to go against Baylor and their defense. Nemhard's been solid all year long. He's going to have the ball in his hands, that 28 usage, 28 shot share. But he's going to have Davion Mitchell on him, and he is an elite defender. So in my opinion, I'm staying away from the Horned Frogs. If you're really kind of just a risk taker, I think you could try to go get Miles or maybe Samuel bounce back, gets a double, but I'm staying away.
Sure. James, anything numerically that stands out in this one?
No, not really. I think Bird said it all. Baylor's really, really good. TCU, a little bit too unpredictable at this point. And with a huge slate, 10-game slate, there's other options out there.
Let's get to one right now. Let's get to one in your neck of the woods, James. Wake Forest at Duke. This one's interesting because I think this is the first time Wake Forest has ever been on a DK slate this year, and their pricing is something else. KenPom has Duke 14-point favorites. The total as well as 144. Duke's won 11 of the last 12, but Wake actually won the last meeting to close out last year before COVID shut everything down. Wake's defense so far, 132nd in KenPom. That's not good coming out of a Power 6 conference. With Wake, we're going to try to figure out what this team is without DeBose, if he goes or if he doesn't go. And then Coach K, he is back this week, and then we're going to see if we can find something out on Jalen Johnson. But we'll look to you, James, to try to make sense of this Wake Forest team.
DeBose right now is we don't know. You look at most things, say he's out. I've seen a couple things as recent as today says he may play. So we don't really know. That's a big wild card, obviously, in this one. He's the ball hog, 8, close to 29% shot share. And so if he doesn't go, where do you look at that point? And I don't know. I think the player that probably jumps out to me the most here on this slate, or at least in this game, is kind of one of the veterans here, Isaiah Mucius. I think that he's had a really solid. He's had over 20 DK over the last 3 games that he's played. He's priced at 5,100, but it's a pretty good matchup. Duke is not, especially with Jalen Johnson out, it's not as elite defensively as they have been in the past, especially in the middle. And so I think that's a guy that you can look at, as possibly maybe able to do something there.
So flipping over to Duke, we're not expecting Jalen Johnson Saturday.
Not that I'm aware of. It could change, but right now he's still out.
Sure. So is this another Matthew Hurt, DJ Stewart day?
I think so. I like DJ Stewart a little bit more and more as time goes on. He had 36 DK last game against Boston College. Wake Forest defense isn't going to scare anybody. I think he's a guy that's just going to continually to get better, come into his own. Matthew Hurt has really been sort of the focal point and really the only guy to really get it done. That 9,000 price tag, though, my goodness, that's high.
That's a ton.
It's a ton. And I'm not sure on this, huge slate. He's just not eye catching to me. Even though he may have a good game.
Sure.
But yeah.
Anybody else down there? Wendell Moore, maybe?
Wendell Moore finally reemerged this last game against BC. He must have been in the complete doghouse. I don't know what was going on there, but he came back with 38 DK, had 30 minutes. He played and kind of got back to his old self. So assuming everything is fine there, that's definitely somebody I would target.
All right. Thanks, James. Let's go on to another ACC contest, another 144 total. This is Miami and NC State. Let's see here. The U has lost 5 of 6. Is this the game where they get back on track? And then my other question for you would be, is Devin Daniels, has he reached alpha status for NC State? So let's tackle Miami first. They've been on the snide lately, as they say. Chris Likes out right now, according to DraftKings. Isaiah Wong's hot start has cooled a little bit. So what are we looking for at Miami?
Well, I think, it'd be easy. Isaiah Wong obviously has struggled here recently. Chris Like's still out. Harlan Beverly is another player that's, sort of had to take up the slack. McGusty, he just came back recently. I think he's somebody that you can look at. NC State, the one thing about them, I've mentioned this before in previous podcasts, but they're a team that just doesn't give up a lot of 3-pointers.
No, they don't. And
that's just part of their defense, is kind of how they're designed. To kind of run guys off the line, kind of funnel things in the middle. They got Funderburk back. Manny Bates still there. So they've got a couple big guys in the middle that kind of clog things up there, and that's where they try to force you. And so Miami's not that kind of team. They do have a big guy there that's Nasir Brooks that came in this year. He's been pretty good. But I think, if I'm looking at Miami, I don't know. There's really not a lot that stands out here. McGusty, I think, with the price tag, is somebody that's looking pretty good. But otherwise, otherwise, there's really not anybody here that I'm super excited about.
I wish they wouldn't have priced up Timberlake because he's been playing really well lately. But they gave him a pretty sizable boost in price, which is 64. A little frustrating.
Yeah.
Beverly's price at least dropped some. He can get a few steals and do some things like that. That helps. And McGusty missed last game, but I assume he would be back at 4,300 if he plays 25 minutes. I think that's a good flyer.
Let's flip over to North Carolina State and let's answer me this about Devin Daniels. The usage is there, the shot rate's there, the salary now is there. Is he in that league guard category in that league?
I think the issue with him, outside of the very first game of the season where he had a 52 DK game and just completely smashed against Cupcake, the ceiling with him is just not there. And that's been his whole career.
Yeah.
There's other guys on this team, Jared Cole-Helms, that, is similar type of player that can do, numbers that are pretty similar to him on a given night. I think Devin Daniels has got consistency. If you're looking at cash games, I think Devin Daniels you'd rather go for.
Makes sense.
You get into tournaments, I'll probably go with a little bit cheaper guy like a Jared Cole-Helms, even like a Cam Hayes occasionally as a young freshman. I would tend to look at those guys, take a little bit more of a gamble.
No problem. Yeah, this is a pretty balanced team. Just looking at their points per game, 7, 8, 6, 9, 8, 12, 13. Yeah, it looks like they get contributions from all other places, which is never really good for your GPP lineups.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Funderburk's back, which hurts a little bit, but Manny Bates at 4,900. You look at, he's had 30-point DK games, 40-point DK games. He played 36 minutes last game. So I think he's an intriguing GPP target at 4,900, even though Funderburk's back.
Yeah, because you're going to get the ancillary stats with him.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over to a birdie game. This is a big one too. This is the number 4 team in the nation versus the number 14, I think West Virginia is. Texas is going on the road to West Virginia. Over under the total here is a surprisingly high 141, given the defensive pedigree of these two clubs. Texas has won 4 of the last 5. West Virginia is only shooting 45% from 2, which is something that stood out compared to Texas's 53%. And my question for Bird is this Texas team for real? And then my question on the West Virginia side is Taz Sherman, the guard, the correct fill-in for Schwebe. Let's find out. First, let's start with Texas. Bird, is this team for real? Yeah,
so I have you see this over right there.
Yeah.
I think I have to say, as a Jayhawk fan, that they appear to be real because they just beat the poop out of us. Yeah, they're really good. Good for Shaka. I guess you grow out hair, you learn how to coach. Maybe I don't know.
That's the key. Longer the hair, better the coach.
I wish Greg Brown wasn't priced at 7,900. I still think that's too high because he's awesome. But if you only play 20 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game, it's hard to hit that price.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Jones has been on a complete heat check lately, which is really fun to see. I think Matt Coleman continues to be that cash game staple, just Mr. Consistent. And West Virginia really hasn't played very good defense this year.
No.
So it's a team you can beat. Jericho Sims is actually playing good. Hate to admit that, but he is. I'm not going to play him, but people who aren't stubborn probably can.
Right.
And Kai Jones at 4,600, I think his price has dropped, even though he's going around 20 a game. So I think there's actually some nice options on the Texas side that I feel pretty comfortable with. West Virginia is a little bit harder to get into.
Let's take a look.
Culver's awesome. Double every night is very in play. Texas is going to keep bringing those bigs at them, at Culver. And so it's going to be a little bit harder, I think.
I gotta say, did you see that one of our competitors had Culver as a fade last game?
Oh, well, competitors.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah, we're faces, Joe. We don't talk about.
I didn't say who it was.
I know. 8,700 is a high price for such a, going against a tough Texas team that's long. Right. Miles McBride, I think, is also always in play just because he's going to play all the minutes, can get some steal upsides, going to take some shots. But you hit on it, Tess Sherman, like 16 shot attempts the last 2 games. He's basically my dream role where he just comes in and just racks shots. At 4,900, he is going to be a little bit scoring dependent, but he's going to take 16 shots. If he keeps doing that, I mean, gosh, you have to consider him. I think he's a GPP target, not a cash target, but he is somebody you can look at. Jalen Bridges had played good one game and then struggled the next. Kadrian Johnson played well last game, but didn't play any before that. Osabuian hasn't done anything somehow. I don't know how that's possible, but he hasn't.
Opportunities present himself to him and he gets downgraded.
Yeah, unbelievable. So he's super frustrating. I think McBride is probably the safest play. Sherman's a GPP target, and then Culver is probably going to be a low-owned GPP target just because of the length of Texas.
Awesome. Let's keep it going. Okay.
Yeah.
Rutgers, Ohio State. This is a Rutgers -2 at the rack. Total 140. These two teams are 7th and 8th in the Big Ten, so they're right in the middle of things. So, I mean, this is kind of an important game for those teams to get some separations or pick up a much-needed win, especially in these tighter matchups, because I think we know who the cream of the league is and who the bottom of the league is. These middle games are going to be super important when it comes tourney time. The key metric, the one that stood out to me and actually rang true when I watched the last Rutgers game earlier this week, is they're shooting 58% from the line. And if this is a 2-point game, that could be very costly. My questions for James is, number one, is Ohio State any good? I can't tell. Bert says no. And then my other one on the Rutgers side is what's up with Ron Harper Jr. He has struggled the last 2 games and his price has come down. Let's start with Ohio State. James, give us a breakdown of them.
Well, kind of starts with EJ Liddell in the middle. He missed a little bit of time this year, but he's really the guy. Everything flows through him. It should, as previous big guys they've had kind of come through that program in recent years. Caleb Wesson, you guys remember him. So he's next up, right? Very talented, nice mid-range game. And so I think with every Rutgers game this year, it's if Miles Johnson can stay in the game, he can make things very difficult for opposing big men. But he tends to get in foul trouble sometimes. And once he goes out and Rutgers has to go small, I think that's an opportunity for EJ Liddell. They are playing at the rack, so, not so sure. But I think he could be a decent GPP play in this matchup. As kind of Dwayne Washington as well. He's a guy that's got decent shot share, almost 28%. He is a shooter. He's going to give you nothing else. So you have to play the guy assuming that he's just going to shoot it. I think you go down the line with them. There's really not a whole lot that jumps out for Ohio State. They're pretty well balanced. Are
you surprised? Are you surprised Justice Suing hasn't had more of an impact?
I am a little bit. They were pretty high on him when he came in, but You get CJ Walker out. He wasn't super relevant, I don't think, from a DFS standpoint, but he played just a ton of minutes. So I don't know. There's not really a whole lot here that I'm in love with from an Ohio State standpoint. I don't think they are that great, to be honest. And Iowa's beaten Rutgers twice now at the rack. They haven't lost any other games there. And so they're for whatever happens there, they're very good. So I'm not really looking at a lot of Ohio State outside of maybe EJ Liddell in GPP format.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think Washington's going to play point with Walker out, and so maybe Aaron's plays a little bit more at shooting guard at 3,800. Maybe it'd be a pretty deep cut type of flyer. Maybe Washington gets more ancillary stats because he can't just shoot at point guard. Maybe
we'll see.
I doubt it. I'm slamming that Rutgers line if it's anywhere close to 2, though.
Oh my God, yes, me too. Let's talk about Rutgers. We mentioned Ron Harper at the top of the segment, and Harp is down to 8,400. This is a guy who was closer to 10 a while back. You see that 30% shot share; it's super impressive. But he's been a little off the last couple games, and what's your take?
It happens. He's not shooting less.
No.
He's just not been quite as efficient. Some of the ancillary stats, rebounds, which are normally there for him, haven't been. Ohio State, not a particularly great rebounding team, in spite of Liddell being really good. I would smash Harper tomorrow. I think of the elite plays, he's definitely one that I would target tomorrow. I think he could have a really, really nice game.
It's a fun little tidbit adding to that is when I was watching the game this week, Billis was calling it against Iowa, and they said whenever Harper has the ball, if he looks at his opponent's feet, he's putting it up. So, and then I watched the game, obviously, and every time he'd catch it on the wing, and they'd do the motion around him. As soon as he'd put it on his hip and look down at that guy's feet, that ball was going up either with a step back or taking it to the rack. And it was kind of a fun little side game I was playing with myself while watching him go. But after him, though, who really impressed me that game, and really I'd never realized that Jacob Young was such a good defender.
Oh yeah, he's very talented. He originally 4-star recruit, went to Texas, ended up doing a sit-out year, transferred obviously to Rutgers. Very talented, very athletic, very fast point guard, and he's just getting a tremendous usage this year. 26%, 24% shot share. He's great. Not a great game the last game they played there, but I think he's definitely somebody you could look at as well.
And then you mentioned Miles Johnson and potential foul risk there, but he looked pretty good manning up Garza.
He does. If he could hit any free throws, I mean, he would be terrific, really. No, but he's good. He's again, I think he affects the game more defensively. Definitely a GPP type of player. If he can play enough minutes, he can be really productive because he is pretty good around the bucket. But he's a guy that's definitely a gamble.
Bird, do you like anyone in particular on this Rutgers team? Do they stand out more than the others?
I do like the Rutgers side. I feel like it's just not quite as good of pricing as the Creighton side, but I do think there's some nice favorable plays. And Montez Mathis, he had 2 30 burgers back-to-back games before kind of an egg last one. He's another GPP option. So I do think you want a piece of Rutgers here. This is probably in our don't go overboard section or in our tread water. But if you don't go Harper, I go give Jacob Young a shot with that steal upside, especially with Ohio State's point guard out.
Yeah, quick note there. Caleb McConnell just came back. He had 22 minutes against the Spartans. He was a player that's been around for a while. He's had some really good games last year. He's kind of taken Mulcahy's minutes. So he's somebody that you could look at maybe as a GPP dart.
Sure. We don't have him on the sheet here. This is pulling from a season-long stat base, so he didn't qualify on the metrics. But, yeah, good note on that on McConnell. Hey, let's flip over to some really exciting ones. Actually, we got 2 left, boys. Let's wrap it up. These would typically lead off our show because we're talking about the don't go overboard section, the icon at the beginning that had the no swimming side, and it's probably shark infested waters. Maybe we can find a play on here, maybe we can't. But first one on here is Virginia and Boston College. This is the 75th time Boston College has been on a slate this year. Virginia, not as many. The line here is Virginia -6, which again seems low. The total is 132. Virginia's won 5 of the last 6. Teams are shooting 55% from the floor against Boston College. And when you think about a team like Virginia that prides themselves on getting good shots, I don't think that's going to bode well for them. I mentioned a block party earlier. I'm asking, is Jay Huff going to have a block party? He's 8th nationally in block percentage. And then my question to James, if you've heard anything, has Winston Tabbs lost his starting spot? Let's start with Virginia first, though.
Okay. I think for Virginia, as you mentioned earlier, Joe, Boston College, pretty soft in the middle. And, so I think the two guys that kind of jump out there as being really relevant because there aren't many, let's face it here. But I think Sam Hauser, the good Hauser, he's a 7,500. He's not somebody that's really going to jump out to people, probably not going to be really super high on, but 34 DK 2 games ago against Notre Dame, 38 DK against Wake Forest. He's playing over 35 minutes a game. He's looking pretty good. He's taking a lot of shots. He's getting a lot of rebounds. So that he's getting, I think he's really one of the primary guys that you could look at Virginia.
It's his team. In my opinion, just looking at it, he's their guy.
Yep.
I think to start the year, people thought Clark was going to take over that team and put it on his back, but I think it's his team right now. And when they need a bucket, he's going to be the guy to get it.
Yep. I think Jay Huff is somebody you can look at. You kind of mentioned on the first slide there. He's not somebody that's going to break the slate. I think he had 38 DK against Kent was kind of his high mark of the year, but he's somebody that could, hit that 4X, maybe 5X. BC again, pretty soft in the middle. So he's somebody you could definitely look at. Once you drop down below that, Clark, maybe GPP kind of flyer there, 5,500 still.
Sure.
But beyond that, there's really nobody I'm really interested in. Walden Tensei, unbelievable, 3,300. That guy was starter last year. Yeah. Brought him in as a, kind of the 3-point sharpshooter, and he's just irrelevant at this point.
Yeah. No, last year he was 30 minutes a game, and he at least took 4 threes a game. Now he's nothing.
If Morsell and Statman both miss, I mean, Clark and Beekman are going to play all game again. So at least they're going to be on the floor. Like minutes equal money, right?
That's true.
Yeah. All right, Boston College. What's going on with them, James?
They're terrible. For starters,
they have fun DraftKings plays typically, or they've had fun DraftKings play over the last couple of years. They play relatively quick. Winston Tabbs, what happened there?
He's just not been good, I think. But it's a little bit deceiving. I think right now the coach is just sort of trying to send a message. He's still playing a lot of minutes, but it's he's just not in the starting lineup. So maybe trying to send a message, kind of get a fire lit for him. But I don't know. Against Virginia, they're not sort of as elite defensively as they have been, but they're still slow as molasses, right? 357 ranked in adjusted tempo. So it's not going to be a lot of possessions in this game. Probably going to be north of a blowout here. So there's not really anybody that's really jumps out at me. Felder had a nice game against Duke, 36 DK, took 13 shots. But again, just really hard to expect, any significant, movement here.
I'd love to smash Tabbs on a 5,600 based on talent, but not against Virginia. You just can't do that, right, Bird?
I don't think you can. I like that Steph Mitchell's number. His salary is down to 6,000, but he has no offensive role at all. He's going to be the try hard and he's going to go get some rebounds and things like that, which might profile well against Virginia. But yeah, I'm just going to pretend this game's not even on the slate.
Yeah.
Real quick, DeMar Langford, who's priced at 4,300 right now. He did play 34 minutes against Duke for 29 DK. So if you were going to take somebody, you just want to take a real low-owned flyer in this, he might be somebody you could look at.
So if you're a Boston College fan and you want to play someone from your team
to Boston College, right?
All right. So we'll send that note to Matt Ryan, the quarterback of the Falcons, in case he's playing some CBB DFS, because he ain't playing any football this weekend.
Ooh.
Got him. Take that, Matt Ryan digs. Who would have thought that's where we were going? Last one on the slate here, guys, is Tennessee at Texas A&M. So I got to start us off with bragging about my conference and all the scoring, and then I get to close us out with this beauty. Tennessee's an 8-point favorite. Ken Pom has the total at 126. This is a 2-1 SEC team versus an 1-2 SEC team. Surprisingly, since joining the SEC, Texas A&M leads the series 6-4. But the total here is 126. Both teams are 290s in tempo. The question I'll ask you guys when we get there is this do you fade the 5-star freshman due to the game flow here? But then when we get to the A&M side, I'm going to ask you guys if it's a spot where maybe Buzz can beat Tennessee again. He beat him last year, and Buzz has a knack for getting big wins. This would definitely qualify, and being at home will help that. Looking at Tennessee first, this is kind of a rehash comment from the last game we were looking at. Texas A&M isn't an awesome defensive team, but Buzz Williams teams are typically very they try very hard and they try to play good defense. So I don't like any of the pricing here. Josiah Jordan-James is a do everything type player. He's averaging almost 27 fantasy points a game, but you can't pay $7,000 for someone in this game. Fulkerson had a really good game his last time out. He's also 6,900, but then he almost blew out his knee trying to dunk, which was scary and stupid. So I kind of soured on him a little bit from a season perspective after seeing that. Victor Bailey and Pons. Pons I would like more than Bailey. Bailey's a little more scoring dependent, where Pons is a do everything type player. And in these junk games, like Bird said, junkers can have some clout in these type of games. Vescovi's just a roller coaster this year, up and down, and he looks stupid with his hair, so you can't play him.
Oh, well, wait a second, Joe.
Well,
one thing to note about him, he is shooting 40% from three. Texas A&M ranked 340th. Defensively, their opponents are shooting almost half of their field goals from three. And they're hitting 42% of their points. Opponents' points are from three.
But he still has stupid hair.
What are players with blonde highlights? How are they doing against that?
Okay, let me check that.
Well,
I would play him. 5,500 GPP.
The minutes are there. Minutes are there.
It can get hot. It's a team that can get exposed. Yeah, I would find a way.
For me, I would if I'm going to play this game, and we talked about the 5-star freshmen, Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer, both of them are priced way down. Springer missed a game. He came back last game, and he's someone who gets a ton of points and gobbles up fantasy production when he's on the floor. If this game gets loose and Tennessee gets up big, which could very easily happen in any scenario, Springer could get an extended run, and at 4,800, I think he would be my GPP dart if I had to do something from this game. Bird, do you like anything here? Oh, and I use like very, very loosely.
Yeah, just Tennessee's so balanced. It's hard to pick. Hard to pick one. I agree. You probably want to go down to the lower options between Vescovi, Johnson, and Springer.
Awesome. And then for A&M, you guys like this. My note on Emmanuel Miller, because this isn't a team we're too familiar with. Emmanuel Miller is what Savion Flagg was until he fell in love with shooting the three. Yeah. So Flagg was this awesome bucket getter, high usage guy a couple years ago when CBB DFS first came back for A&M, and we were pounding him night in, night out. Wasn't shooting a ton of deep balls, but he was getting rebounds. He was getting points. He was just reliable. Well, now Savion likes to shoot the 3-ball, which is fine. Probably wants to play at the next level in some capacity, and he's going to need that on his skill set. But he's a 21% 3-point shooter, so it's backfiring. He's leading the team in attempts, and it's just you see him all the way down there at 5,300 when he used to be that $8,000 guy who was the backbone of this team. So Emmanuel Miller is that guy now, but there's no way I'm paying $8,000 on a team that's going to lose in a total of 120. So all that being said, that's a little introduction to them for when they get into happier spots later in the year against the Arkansas and Alabamas of the world. The rest of A&M is little bit of a mystery. They've tried a lot of different combinations. I think Buzz is still working the kinks out. Quentin Jackson and Andre Gordon get reliable minutes in the backcourt. JJ Chandler was a starter last year. He's been in and out of the lineup. He's okay, but there's nothing we really love on this team. Let's just move on from this unless you guys see something I'm missing.
Oh, move on.
But there's nothing to move on to, guys, because that's it.
Hey. We'll put you guys on the spot then. Favorite play. One favorite play.
Oh, geez.
I'll say Zagorowski at 7,000.
Favorite play. That's tough. James, you got one? Help me out here.
Yeah. Get me Harper. I'll go with everybody wants to know what the elite play to play. Play Harper tomorrow.
God, I like that. I think you guys did great with that segment. The end. No. No, I'll go back to Creighton too. I was trying to be unique, which is why I was searching there, and I don't want to double up on Zeg. So give me Mitch. Now, you know what? I said it earlier today. I'm going to stick with it. I think it's a Roden day for Seton Hall. I think Mamu's going to get a little paced out. Love Mamu to death, but I think he's going to get a little paced out, and I think it's a big Roden day. So give me Roden from Seton Hall. Awesome, Bird. I like that. Make us think on our feet. We saw who was the worst at it. This guy,
the guy who always says, "Hey, we need to think on our feet more."
Right.
Don't be scripted.
Well, like now we got some work to do. Bert, you're going to flip this into an audio file. You're going to put it out for the bucket heads to listen to in the morning. We're going to put in our lineups probably tomorrow while we're drinking our coffee or waters or whatever our orange juice, whatever our morning beverage is. We're going to win all the money with the slate, even though it's a disappointing slate from a prize pool standpoint. And then the last thing we need to do is we need James to take us out.
All right. Thank you very much for sticking with us here, even through the bad games towards the end. But if you want the best CBB DFS information, follow us on Twitter at CBB_DFS. Come out to our website. We post Monday through Friday, every week, every day. www.cbb-dfs.com. Obviously, like and subscribe to our podcast. We love you guys. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Bucketheads.